All right, bam, we're live on both. We'll get going here in a second. All right, if you're new, welcome. We'll go for a few minutes, talk about how to help with hiring some people for your remodeling company. You got to go to grow, as they say. So let's get started. All right, let me share my screen over here. If you're on YouTube, you can see some slides. If you're on TikTok, feel free to ask any questions at any point. We'll do about 12 minutes of content, and then I'll answer any questions. You can ask questions while content's going on as well. All right. So this is day 58 of the AI Challenge. Welcome. If you're new, here we go. You're not building a team if you don't train them. You're just hiring chaos, right? Everybody thinks that the next person they hire is going to solve all their problems. Most likely it's not going to happen. So don't mean to be bursting your bubble, but you bring in a person, but you have to also be able to train them most of the time in remodeling, because they have to understand how you want them to do the business, right? And let's look at why most remodelers don't have the training system. Like, I can share with you why I didn't. It's because it's hard. It's challenging. You don't even know that you need one. I can remember being upset with guys thinking that they should know what I want them to do. Think about that. I was like, they should already know how to do that. Why do I have to explain it to them? I'm paying them. So if that's your goal, don't just think that if you tell them, just shadow that guy, yeah, and hope that they don't ruin or break something. The problem is the guy's going to screw up, right? And then you blame the new hire, not the fact that you gave them zero training. Huge companies spend a lot of time and energy training people for a reason. You get better results that way. Thanks, bro. All right. So if your crew is inconsistent, that's going to be coming back to you as the remodeler. What does a training system really do for us? Well, it's not like it's a big manual. It's not a fancy HR department. It's the way that you teach your guys to do things the way that works best for your company, and it's a repetitive thing that they can do over and over again. All right, that's what a training system is. Subway didn't become Subway because there was one guy making sandwiches at one restaurant. Subway became Subway because the guy that owned it got out of the way and said, I'm going to have thousands of people own thousands of Subways, and there's going to be hundreds of thousands of kids making sandwiches. Your remodeling business is a similar process you would want to go through. When you start the business, you're self-employed. That's great. The real money is getting out of your own way and saying, yeah, I need to hire some guys to do the work now. I need to run a company. That's why I got into the business, right? You get players, you put them out on the field, you step back and organize everything. Well, the way you do that is you build a foundational model so that everybody knows what to follow. That's why Subway could have so many stores and so many locations, because they made it stupid simple to make a sub. You have to make it stupid simple to remodel a house, whether that's a kitchen, a bath, a bathroom, a deck, whatever it is that you do. All right, so let's move on. You have to come up with your way that you set up your job site. How do you want it cleaned? How do you want it staged? Where do you want, like the cut stations? How do you manage all that? Where do you store things? All right. You got to have some standards for how the guys operate daily on job sites. What do they do? What do they don't do? You direct them. Okay. You have a list of, just like wherever you went to high school They had like a little code of conduct, like, hey, this is what you do if you want to stay in school. If you want to get expelled, then you do these things. Working for you should be no different. Hey, if you want to stay employed and be a positive contributing member, you do these things. If you want to get fired, you do those, right? Same concept. So if you don't have standards, then you're going to have chaos. And this shows, because talk to any remodeler who's been in the business long enough, this is the typical trajectory. They start out, they go hire a few friends, they try to grow. Then the next thing you know, they complain because all they did was hire more problems. They got overwhelmed. It cost them a ton of money. They almost went out of business. So they fire almost everybody. They go back to being small. And then they're like, this is the only way to run a business, just me and a helper. Right. And that's not the only way to run a business. It's just the only way they know how to run a business, because when it came to growing it, they didn't put any systems in place. They just went and grabbed a bunch of random people and plugged holes. Had they taken some time and say, you know what, maybe if I get a system in place and I tell everyone this is the way we do it, then I could hire 5, 6, 10 guys. And then I could sit back and manage. We could have 3 decks being built at once, 3 kitchens being remodeled at once. Right. And I can leverage. So that's the reality of why most remodelers fail and why they struggle. So you have to map out a basic training schedule, and it sounds silly, and I get it, but it's what works. So, like, again, this only applies if you're trying to grow a company. If you're happy being self-employed and you're like, hey, I enjoy what I do. I get up, I work 6 hours on job sites, then I run around, I sell the jobs, I manage on nights and weekends, I do the bookkeeping and the invoicing. If that's the lifestyle that you enjoy and love, then you don't need all this. But if you're like, whoa, I had goals and aspirations. I wanted to run a business. I want a crew that works for me, right? I want to get out of my house. Maybe I'll have an office. I don't know what your goals are, but if you're trying to grow a business, this is the way you go about it. You set up standard policy, all right? You have to get like some sort of a checklist for the new guy. Here you go. And this is what you do. You teach them one core habit per week. You don't overwhelm them. You teach them little bits as they go. And then you help reinforce your standards the entire time. You don't need fancy software. You need consistency and clear direction. Like, hey, on the project coming up, I'm going to teach you all the different ways to run crown molding, chair rail, and teach you how to do sills for windows, right? Casings for doors. You're going to spend some time and teach them how to run trim. Then that way on the next project, now your helper can run the trim so that you don't have to be the one doing it. Things like that. You on one job, you teach them how to set cabinetry, right? On the next project, you work it together. The third project, you slightly oversee them. The fourth project, now they're installing all your kitchens for you. So that's what happens if you actually train someone. You can stop being the firefighter and your crews will start fixing the things and your jobs will finish faster. And clients will notice the difference. So you want to know some, if you have any questions about it, let me know. I can just share from personal experience that, the first couple guys I hired were disasters. And that's the way it is because you don't know any better. But then over time, you're like, I'm going to put in a policy. I'm going to have a way to screen these guys. They're all going to have to fill out an application. That's how I'm going to figure it out, right? And you start putting little things in process. So inside the Rebel program, we get into a lot of more of this in in-depth detail. But anyway, if anyone's on here tonight, you have any questions, you're trying to grow, you're not sure how to put in a training process. For helpers, it's simple things like you teach them how to efficiently use tools. I can remember the first couple helpers, they were burning up tools because they didn't understand how to throttle things, right? And they didn't understand what it meant if something was overheating. You can't just run a grinder for 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like, you have to take some breaks. And anyway, sometimes the guys try to muscle things that don't need to be muscled, like a hammer drill. It's not meant to be muscled. All you're supposed to do is just lightly push, let the drill do the hammer work. Otherwise, you're going to burn up the tool. So there's little things like that you need to train your guys so that they, just like cutting lumber. If you ask them to take the chop saw and they're trying to cut that brand new pressure treated lumber that's just soaked with water, they can't just try to muscle that arm down. They got to let the saw cut through, right? And otherwise, they're going to burn up the motor on your tools. So those are the things. That's pretty much all I have for you all tonight. Let's see. So hiring employees is a challenge for anyone in the industry. It's the reason why most companies can't grow, because the owner cannot get out of their own way and they can't properly manage guys or give them good direction. Again, like in the beginning, I expected people to know what I was thinking, and that was crazy. Like I would get upset with the guys because they would make a mistake, and I'd be like, how did they mess that up? Didn't they know I wanted them to do it this way? And somebody had to sit me down and say, how are they supposed to know that, Mike? Did you ever share that? Do you have it written down anywhere? You just think that they're going to know it because you know it? Osmosis doesn't work that way. So it's a rude awakening for a lot of guys. You have to physically, and I hate that part. I hate slowing down and putting things into a process. I expect people just to know how to do it. So often the way it works for me is I tell someone, hey, watch me and ask me questions, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about how you do that. Then they can write the instruction sheet. They can write the checklist, right? But I'm talking it through to them. I'm like, this is what I do in the morning. This is how I figure out where we're setting up cut stations, right? This is how we figure out where we're going to park vehicles. And when you can explain all that in a good, proper way, then your guys can run well. All right. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, let me know. Small group tonight. It's a little late, I know. You wonder if growing employees, everybody says they want employees. Then when you start sharing with them how to do it, you start finding less and less people show up. I think this is what you find in most of the Facebook groups too. Everybody wants to complain, but nobody wants to actually do the hard work to make it different. So you got to be really careful when you go in those groups and you see everybody complaining. Don't believe that that's the way it is. That's just the way it is for the people that complain and don't do anything. You'll have guys, if you're in a Facebook group long enough, you'll notice the same guy is going to come up with the same problem sometimes every year. It just comes back again. They got the same issue. And you're like, brother, didn't you learn last time? Like this was somebody already brought that up. You've even brought it up. Nah. And that's why the success rate's so low in the industry. It's yes, the industry is challenging. Don't get me wrong, but it's not that hard. It's that the people in the industry just don't do the work to succeed. And anyhow. You have any questions? Anything you want to hear? You have an idea for a future topic? Let me know. I think what I'll do, I could probably end the screen share. I'll stop sharing the screen on YouTube. All right. Yep. So look, I'm just relaxing. While I'm doing a couple things for tomorrow, if you have any questions, just pop it in the chat. Pretty much open forum right now. Definitely a smaller group tonight. But yeah, that's where we're at. You can ask about employees, sales, whatever you got. If this is your first time here, welcome. But by any means, just ask any questions you might have about the industry. I'd be happy to answer. Hey, 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 Osmond. Hey, good to see you here. What's happening? I really appreciate a lot of the positive comments and and all the thank yous. So it's refreshing. For the most part, most of the people on my channel are pretty positive. I find in general. I've had some idiots, that are negative and upset and angry, obviously, and that's human nature. So I try to address those people straight off. But thank you, Osme MAP. I really appreciate. And listen, I've got your the script. Yeah, thanks. I've w- I've put together the script I'm gonna do for bookkeeping. Um, it was I want to make that video outside. I don't like doing the videos here in the office. I spend too much time in my office as it is. So it's tomorrow. I think we're gonna get a little break in the weather. So I'm gonna record that video tomorrow about bookkeeping. And hey, look, if you are you in a place where you're looking to take on people, or are you just in a place where you're exploring that as a business? Where are you at the stage? Yeah, so you're in Rochester, and help me understand. Like, would you want? Are you taking on people to like contractors as to do their books to be a bookkeeper, or is that some? Help me understand where you're at in the phase of your business. Has it is it? Are you looking to launch? Have you launched? Fair enough. Okay. All right. Because I was just at listen at any time, if when you're ready and if you need uh I don't know how to say it, but like we could, I could let people know that your services are available in the future. All right. Just all you got to do is reach out and let me know. And we could let up because if you do go in that direction, that's a huge service that needs to be, many contractors need that service. And what's interesting, I get a bunch of random people every day that message me and try to become friends on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. And they're all many of them are looking to offer that same service, but I'd be very happy to do a plug for you for your service when you're ready. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're going to see a huge I think you're on the right track. Think about this. You have like the last 30 years people were told not to get into remodeling. They were told like that's stupid work. It's low level, right? And yet most of the people that are in the construction field that have a real business. Now, when I say real business, I'm talking they have employees, they have an office, they make great money. The guys that struggle in the business are all the self-employed guys, right? It's the guy that had the idea, like, I want to run a business. And then they get out and it gets really hard. And then they get scared and they get stuck. And then now they're trying to wear every single hat themselves. Those guys really struggle the most. Anyway, where I say with this is you're going to see a resurgence in the field. Yeah, people tell you as far as needing bookkeeping. Yeah, I mean it's 100% people, but I mean as far as knowing that people struggle, I can just speak to it. I've watched, I meet people all day, every day in the business, and they so many of them, right? They What's happened is the generation of kids now, they grow up. Yeah, a lot of people think that they were told that that's you don't want to do that. That's not We want you to go to college. We want you to get into like a different field. Painting houses, building decks, that's just something you do. Working on roofs, that's just something you do for like a summer to build work ethic. They don't look at it as something that's a profession in general, from my experience. But yet, what is so interesting is when you go around to some of different neighborhoods, a lot of times some of the wealthiest people in the neighborhoods, they own home services businesses. They do very well. It's a great business to be in. It's just hard to get past being the self-employed. And look, when you start your bookkeeping business, you may find the same thing, that it's hard to hire an employee and manage them and train them. And you may not want those headaches, so you may end up staying small. But most of the people that I know that get into offering accounting services, financial work like that, they do very well. And you can do it with a small team, just that you can do it with like 3 to 4 people. So I have quite a few contacts that do that work, people that I've hired, for our bookkeeping, our tax services, whatever, financial work, and they do very well. So it can be a good lifestyle, you know. So, and what I think is going to happen is you're going to see you're starting to see a resurgence. So I have some nephews. Okay. Yeah, by yourself, absolutely. No, yeah. You got to get your feet wet, get some systems underway, figure it out. And then down the road, you'll probably hire an office admin to help you within your office. Then you might hire someone and start teaching them a lot of the simple things that you have to perform day in, day out. And then you might hire another person down the road. Before you know it, I could see you having like 3 people. Bibs, yeah, what kind of commercial work are you? I mean, what are you looking to do for like, you want to build colleges, hospitals, uh, storefronts, like, yeah. So, I mean, you can start by going around and looking at going to different building permit departments and seeing who's applied for building permits. You could start going around introducing yourself to developers. Um, Go around, look at, who is wherever you see site development going on, you know. It's a fragmented space, but you'll have to it'll take some time to get to know some players in your area. So I would start with making friends with your chamber of commerce in your local area. Those things still work. If you have a business account, like if you're a true business, don't have your bank at like Bank of America. Set up with a local bank in your area. Get to know the president of the bank. They should probably have a networking group where you can start to meet other business owners. They most of the time, local businesses, they do all their banking with local banks, right? They want to have a personal connection with the local banker. They're not dealing with like your big nationwide banks. So you should get in with them, start introducing yourself, start by setting up accounts, checking, savings. So for you, it's going to be a lot of networking. Anytime you see a project underway anywhere, just stop in. Yeah. Yeah, I've had the most success with dealing with local as much as you can, because so if your goal is to be a local business, and help people within your own town and community, you should do business with people in your town and community, right? Your insurance agents, whoever you get your auto from. I'm not saying you're not with like a Nationwide or whatever, State Farm, but you find a local agent, you work with them, and then you start networking with them. Start going to the local restaurants, meeting the restaurant owners. That's another way you can get commercial work. We have a business in our area. It's a bagel business, and they've got like 5, 6 locations now, right? I mean, and they're less than a mile. Their office is less than a mile from my office, and they just bought a new office that they're expanding. So you want to get in with a family like that. You look for local businesses that are doing well. They're probably going to open up a new location. So, hey, Alaska, haven't seen you for a little while. Welcome. So Bibbs, for you, commercial works a little bit different. If I from until you have a so for me, we did not specialize. We did some commercial work like restaurant. We'd build the bars for a restaurant or a coffee shop, but that wasn't my primary focus. You- I could go get more residential remodeling work at any time, right? Like just increase the marketing, increase the flyers. So once you get established and you have a way of finding more work, then it's time to get the project manager, in my opinion. You just have to make sure because here's what's going to happen. In my opinion, if bringing on the project manager should free you up so that you can have more focus on bringing in more business. So you you should have the project manager when you're at a place where you're having to work just a few too many hours consistently. And most of your time is being eaten up with the project management. Or if you start noticing that you're not doing the best job at it, right? If you're like, damn, somebody else could be a better project manager than me. Like for me, for instance, when I was selling and managing jobs, I was doing them both okay, but I was making mistakes as the project manager for the company because I'm not doing it full time. I was also trying to sell projects. So the best thing I did was I hired a lead carpenter as a project manager. That's how we work it. Okay. So you might look at that model as well. So it's basically a project manager that still works with some tools, not all the time, not 1000%, but they're in the field every day. Right. Um, or if you're at a place where you have enough projects going on all the time, you can truly just hire a project manager, just drives around, only ever does punch out maybe. So there's more than one way to skin the cat. I'd have to see what like your talent pool is, the other employees that you have working for you. Uh, Hopefully that makes sense for you. But um, the other thing is you just have to in project. So I'll give you an example. One day my father. Yeah, exactly. You can't do all of it. And like for a long time, there was this trend. Everyone was talking about how they were a multitasker. All a multitasker is somebody that does two things crappy at the same time. If you've ever been on the phone talking and then you missed your exit or missed the turn, that just lets you know that our brains were designed to do one thing at a time well. And the minute you try to do all these other things, you get distracted. So you don't want someone multitasking, right? Now, does that mean like when I'm on the computer that I can't, if I'm editing a video, that I can't also be working on something else because the video is rendering? And no, but what it means is you should be focused, and your project manager should be focused on project management. Your salesperson should be focused on selling. Your The guys in the field should be focused on getting the work done. So that's the perfect world. But what I was going to with the commercial business side, like, I don't know if you play golf. I don't know if if there's what you have to find something in your area so that you can network. But I'll give you an example. My father's a like a professional level golfer. He's an instructor at a course, and he's always golfing. And he'll call me up and say, "Hey, Mike, I was golfing today with a guy, and he's going to be the developer for the new Chick-fil-A that's going in on Joppa Road. You might want to reach." I told him about you. You and him should contact each other, right? So sometimes you find out about projects because you're out doing other things that guys like to do. That could be you join a gun club because you like to shoot skeet. Some of these guys are into guns. You might go fishing and join some sort of a fishing group in your area. You might join a local golf club, join a men's group that plays golf, once a month or whatever. Find a group that you can be a part of that's something that you like to do, and most likely is something that other guys in the trades like to do. You just never know where you'll find your next jobs. But so networking is huge. The more people that you know, the better. If you grew up in your area, reach out to buddies of yours from high school. If you went to college in the area, reach out to the college, work with the alumni association. So be a there's the contractor's blue book, which is all digital now. You can look at things like that, but so those would be my thoughts. Also, have on your website that you're a commercial. If you do commercial painting, you should have a website that clearly says that, and you should have some social media that clearly says that, so that if somebody's looking for that, you know, they can clearly find you very easily, and especially when they do their Google search. We so I have a big mall by me, and years ago I didn't this wasn't my main business because it didn't pay the best, but I got signed up on their vendor list for doing repairs for all the stores in the mall. You had to become what they call like a certified vendor for the mall. And then what that meant was, as long as you had to have certain insurance requirements, licensing, but you had to be bonded, things like that. Once you had all that set up and you jumped through all the paperwork hoops, the property management company of the mall would allow your company's contact information to be on their preferred list. So whenever a store in the mall needed work done, like they're doing a reset, it's a reset in the store where they move all the merchandise around, and they paint and they put up new displays. The employees in the store don't do like all the hard stuff. Yeah, I mean they fold the clothes and stuff, but you know what I'm saying. They need a contractor to come in and do all this work. So you should talk to the local property managers for any of the strip joints, like malls, where it's like 5 or 6 stores placed together along the road. Any large malls in your area, find out who the property management company is, and put together a little info packet about your company, explains what you do, how they contact you, and just start networking with those types of people as well. You do that for like 3 months, you'll get some jobs. Hey, hey, Jay Allen. Well, welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. So, yeah, when I first started my business, I wanted to start 100% on my own. I didn't want to work off of any referrals. I didn't want to work off of like high school friends, college friends. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do my business and make it on my own, so that it would prove to me that I could move anywhere in the country and start any business I ever wanted, right? And you can. You just have what you have to do is you have to get out into your community and meet people. Now, if you've lived in your community and you already know people, it just makes it that much easier. But what I want, the message I'm trying to express is you can't be successful 100% on your own unless what you do is 100% digital online, right? Then that's different. But if you work in a local community, you need to meet people in the community, and they need to know about you and your services. And you don't have to be from the community. You don't have to have gone to school there or whatever. You just go introduce yourself, go to the bank, go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings. They all have networking events. Uh, just start introducing yourself to other business owners every time you go out to eat. Just introduce yourself to the business owners. And slowly over time, you'll create a nice network of friends and people, business acquaintances. And you'll start, you'll find events to go to. And yeah. And before you know it, you'll have built up a good network to work with. And you'll refer people to your friends' companies when they need help. And then they'll start referring people to you for what you do. I would also go to the local colleges. Bibbs, if I was you, if you're still on here, you might have jumped off. I would network with all the colleges in my area to try to get work there. So, anyhow, what other questions anybody have about anything remodeling related? Otherwise, I can. I can share with you that I've been working with some kitchen designers recently, kitchen companies. So let's see. All right, Osme, thanks for being here. Have a good night. Again, appreciate you being, uh, and thank you for all the comments. So I've been working on doing some helping companies. I'm a big believer that you should land design work as part of your offering if you're a remodeler. That was one of the biggest things that helped me when I was first trying to sell kitchens. I didn't package that I would do the design as well. Now, let me be clear. I am not a kitchen designer, but I work with them and I bring them in as part of my team to design the customer's kitchen for them. And then that's one less thing that the homeowner has to do on their own. I'm like, no, you hire us as your remodeler. We're going to take care of all the design work for you. In fact, we'll have the designer come out to your house. They're going to meet with you, see the space. So I've been putting together some packages of how to help train uh, new designers how to help sell remodeling better, and also how to measure kitchens. So if anybody's looking to do kitchen work, reach out. We can help you with that as well. Well, Jay Allen, unless anybody has any other specific questions, I'm gonna probably hop off here. Hold on, what do you got? Customer? Other bid was 300 cheap. Yeah, so let's talk about that. If you're with the customer face to face, and the other company's $300 cheaper, I would say, and be nice about it, but I would almost ask them, well, how come you didn't hire them? I mean, why aren't you calling them right now? Like, you should be interrupting me and saying, thanks, Jay. I appreciate you being here. I got to call this other guy. He's $300 cheaper than you. And what I'm saying is, I'm almost joking with them, but I'm saying, like, in a very polite way, if that is such a great deal, and you trust that company so well, then yeah, you should give them a call right now. And this is where I made that one video where I would actually even say to them, ma'am, if all you're trying to do is find the cheapest, I've got a couple other guys here. You should call these guys as well. Now, this guy, he doesn't have insurance, or if he does, it's probably been canceled. This other guy, you never know about his workers. Some of the guys he gets from the homeless camp, some of them he gets from the drug treatment program, but he's cheap. All right. And some of his work sometimes, some of his work doesn't work other times. But he's definitely cheap. So you should definitely call him. And and you be very helpful, and actually have, like, you should have some names and numbers of some of the crappy guys in your part of the town. Yes, most likely. So the other line, so a lot of the videos you'll see me put out, you have to be gauging the interaction that you're having with the homeowner. So sometimes when if a homeowner says, "Well, Mike, you guys are like $500 more expensive," I'd be like, "Whew, thank goodness." And I'll be, "Really? We're only $500 more?" I say, "Let me double check. I must have missed something. Maybe I need to charge more." And they'll look at you and they'll be shocked. And I'll say, "Well, ma'am, you already know how this industry works, right?" And they'll be like, "What do you mean?" I say, "Well, most of these guys, that price isn't real. They're just putting out a low price to get you to bite. It doesn't probably include half the things that you're looking for, right? And you probably never even know when they're going to come, when they're not going to come. Are they ever going to finish the job? It's going to be a nightmare, I'm sure. And I'm sure you already know that, because otherwise you would have hired them already. But there was something about them that made you think, I don't know, I don't trust these guys." And I say, really, you're not looking for the cheapest price, because the cheapest price comes with all kinds of problems. You don't want cheap. And nothing cheap ever lasts, right? And you just have that little bit of a conversation with them, and they'll probably start agreeing with you, to where they'll go like, "Yeah, you're right." And say, "Listen, today I'm $300 more. In a month from now, I could be $1,000 more. Would you like to get started today?" And see what they say. Most likely, you don't have to change your price. Most likely, you just have to have a little bit of a segue conversation where you help them understand that it's okay that you are more. In fact, it's a good thing that you are more. That one line that I'll say a lot of times to people, I'll say, "Man, thank goodness that I'm not the cheapest, because if I was the cheapest, then I need to revisit the proposal, because I've messed up." We're never the cheapest. And here's why. Well, see, we're licensed, we're insured, and we have years of good service behind us. My guys are professionals. I'm a professional. This isn't our first week on the job, right? We don't get involved in lawsuits, and we don't get involved in disputes. We just come in, we do what we say we're going to do, and we get the job done. And the price that we're charging is the real price. See, these other guys give you two prices. There's the price that they tell you today, and then there's the price that you're actually going to pay down the road, when they let you know all the things that weren't included in their estimate the first time. And uh, once homeowners start hearing a couple things like that from you, I find that you'll have no trouble getting the job at the price. Does that make sense? Yeah, it sounds like you were thinking the same thing. But like I said, the biggest thing, when the homeowner tells you that you're more expensive, you should be like, "Oh, absolutely." In fact, you might start putting this into your sales process. When you're talking with the homeowner, and if you're on site, and you're talking them, walking through, I just ask random questions. I'll say, "Hey, Mr. Miss Smith, I'm going to be having your estimate done in about a half hour. Um, are you looking to get started on this right away? Are you hoping that I brought paperwork so that you could sign up and hire me today?" And I just see what they say. And if they say to me, "Well, we're getting a bunch of estimates," I'll be like, "Oh, good. Perfect. How far along are you in the process? Hey, can I share some tips with you? Things that I've learned over the years of being in the industry." All right. And FYI, if I want you to understand that if my price is cheaper than anyone else's, then we've definitely made a mistake, because we're a company that's founded on quality. We do things right the first time, and we live and die by our reputation. Right. So, and the cheapest never works. It's always the worst. We don't. So anyway, you should have a few lines that you interject before the price is even put out there, so that when it is more expensive, what it is you want the homeowner to feel comfortable knowing that the fact that you're more expensive is how it is supposed to be, and that that's telling them that the world's okay. Because in their mind, they've come into this entire process believing that they need to find the cheapest. And what they find is when they meet with people that are the cheapest, they don't get a good feeling. In fact, they don't want to hire the cheapest. That's why they haven't hired them. But in their mind, they're confused and they think, well, they need to make you the cheapest. And your process is letting them know that no, no, you don't hire the cheapest. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. You can just let them know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this person's fishing. And now, do they, if this was a kitchen, is it like new construction or a remodel? Like, where there, what I'm saying is, are things being moved? Are you putting supply lines or drain lines or adding new things? Because if you're doing things where things other, what I'm saying, if you're just changing out a faucet, you're changing out a faucet. Yeah. So if you're moving things, did they have a set of plans that you could bid off of? Like, did it show you this is where we're going to be putting the sink? And so that you know, like, hey, I need to move the vent line, I need to move the supplies, the drain. Is that joist going to be in the way? If they didn't even have a set of plans, then it's super easy to tell them, ma'am, you have no idea what this bid's even about. You don't know what's included or what's not. I would, and you should say to them, I would never go with that company. They didn't even want the job because they didn't even take any time to put any details down for you. So, yeah, you have to come up. Yeah. So that's all. You're doing the good thing. Yeah, just help them understand why they don't want the cheapest person. Um, I have a whole guide on all the like homeowners, all the reasons why they don't want the cheapest person, right? Those are what almost all lawsuits go over. And in fact, if they talk to their friends and family and neighbors, anytime a homeowner has a project that didn't get finished right away, like it stalled or there was a legal issue, it almost always tracks back to the cheapest contractor was hired. So, yeah. So I mean, like, let's say if your bid was, let's say your bid was 1,200 or $3,000. If the other guy's only $300 cheaper, that should be no problemo for you. Like, that's perfect. In fact, you probably are too cheap, you know? Yep. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's, what I find is homeowners meet with contractors and they don't often have a good feeling about the person that they just had in their house, but they want the cheap price when they don't know any better, until they learn that cheap is more of a problem than being more expensive. They just have to understand. You just, it's that mental shift that has to take place. So, Travis, I, if you're still on here, what I would say to you is college. I would tell you that if you want to get a good business degree or accounting or something specific, yes, but be careful because most people just go to college to party, and then they come out 4 years later and they've had a good time, but they have a huge debt. Whereas you could be starting to build a business. I'm not, I, it's a tough one because I see the benefit of like you could easily start a business and go to community college at night. You could do it online now. I mean, you could easily get a lot of the business classes that you need, and you don't have to go to a 4-year college. Now, I did go to a college, and I've made a lot of really good friends, and I also wasted a lot of time, right? I mean, they're 4 years you never get back. So, you have to look at it from both. I'd have a plan. If I was gonna go to college, I'd have a really good plan. So, if that doesn't answer your question, let me know. So, Alex, if you're still on, I think 180, you're saying 180 a day. That might be a little low. I would charge definitely more. I don't know what part of the country you're in, and I don't know what services you're offering. But um, but yeah, I would do side work until I've built up enough side work that my main business is getting in the way of my side business. So then you have to get rid of the main business. You know, if you're working for someone else and you're trying to start into this career, you always line up a few nights and weekends jobs. And once you have a couple of those that are steady, then you move on and you start your own thing. How do you find kitchen? Hey there, Daisy. How do you find kitchen designers? So a lot of interior designers are also kitchen designers, and some aren't. Um, right now, a lot of the younger designers have a social media account. So the other day, I was with a bunch of kitchen designers, and it was interesting. There were a couple in their 20s. There were several of them that were like 40 and 50 years old. The ones that were in their 20s, they all have an Instagram account, and they put on there the work that they do. They're very easy to find on social media. All the older guys and girls, it was both guys and girls, they're all word of mouth. They don't have any social media. You would never even know they exist unless you came across them. So here they are. They have like 20, 30 years experience in the industry. They're amazing designers. But because they grew up in a time where social media was looked at as stupid, they don't have it. Like to them, it's not professional to be on social media because you see, you understand this, right? The young generation, everything's on social media. So it's professional to be on social media. The older people are not. So to answer your question, how do you find kitchen design? So you should have in your area, there should be a local kitchen company that not okay. So where I'm located, you have a couple different styles. Some kitchen places do the design and the install. Some only do the design. Okay. So if you're just looking for the designer, then look around for the kitchen place that just does design. And I would look up kitchen designer in my area because you're likely to find both. So now the other thing is you can work with them remotely too. Um, So I could set you up with some people. If you need a kitchen designer, I could set you up with somebody in Maryland. I know a guy in Arizona who's really good. Um, so there's a lot of people that work remotely and do design work also. And so if you're looking for that, we could help you find it. I would also, if you have Facebook, you can go into a local contractors group. Like whatever state you're in, there should be like the South Dakota contractors group. There should be the Florida contractors group. And you could put a post in there that you're looking for a kitchen designer, and you will get probably overwhelmed with responses, depending on what state you're in. So, So Alex, there are web sites they're all over the place. So are you doing like handyman work? Is that what you're looking for? Very good, Daisy. Yeah. What part of the country you're in? So yeah, California, you'll find designers. They're all over the place. Yeah, you might have to get regional because California is such a big state. Um, but there's a lot of groups in California. And I would also just, you'll probably be able to actually in California even find a kitchen designers of California, kitchen remodelers, California. I don't know. I think you'll be able to narrow it down pretty easily in California. Alex, baby, I would tell you that the lead generation, uh, yeah, I think 20 might be a little low. So what you could do is there are agencies that you can work with, and they will find you leads and only charge you for the ones that work out. And that might be the route you go. Because what I'm saying is they might charge you a little bit more money, but they're only going to charge you for the ones that you sell. Okay. So if you sell the job, you could pay more, but you're getting a better service. I would consider that. Awesome, Daisy. Nice. Thanks for asking your questions. Appreciate you being here. Alex, if you can message me on either Instagram or maybe TikTok, Alex, directly, I can maybe get you in touch with someone who might be looking to have a paint. So they're an interior, they do design work. They're like they do high-end accent walls. They might be looking for a good painter. I could get you in touch with them. I believe they're in that Dallas area. I'm not certain you guys are in the same market, but anyway, I might be able to put you in touch with somebody who you might be able to help you out, get you some more painting work. Even if you're doing it part-time right now, and then if because they're busy, it might be the thing you need to do to launch you into doing it full-time. So just send me a DM either on at the Remodeling Academy on Instagram or on that's probably the best one, or TikTok. So Alex, if you want to do it for free, a lot of guys are having, there's an app called Next Door, and a lot of people are having a lot of success on there. The way you will work it is you'll post that you're looking for tile painting and whatever homeowner you work for. So here's what you can start doing. You start charging a little bit more for your service, and then you offer a little bit of a discount to any homeowner that will make a social media post for you. Right? So like you might say, "Hey, I paint rooms. It's $1,500 a room to start. But I'll give you $200 off, $100 if you'll post on Nextdoor, $100 if you'll post on Facebook," or so, whatever. You come up with whatever you want to do. And it's a real good way to start getting your foot in the door, especially if you're doing it part-time and you want to start getting into doing it more full-time. I would just raise my price and then offer the discount to the homeowner who will tag you and make a social media post about your company. And I would get them to do it in more than one location. And you'll want them to put, you should get set up with a company as soon as possible, like an LLC, so you can get a Google account and you can start getting Google reviews as soon as possible. Renovation 411, welcome. I like your name. Yeah, Renovation 411. Cool. So, but Alex, you shouldn't have any trouble lining up work as long as you start looking for it. Thank you for the ice cream cone. Alex, you have any other questions? Anybody on TikTok have any questions? So appreciate you guys being here. Uh, Daisy, if you're still here, what specifically are you looking for, kitchen designers? Yeah, you're welcome, Alex. Good luck. It's going to work out for you, brother. It just takes a few months, and right now is the perfect time to be doing it. So, yeah. But yeah, I would keep your day job just a little bit longer. I would get yourself set up with a business account too. Make sure you get get a name, get a LLC, get a FIA, a federal tax ID number, and then you'll probably be ready to consider leaving your full-time job and doing this remodeling work full time. Yeah, anybody on TikTok, if you have any remodeling questions, please let me know. So basically, what was happening, I have a couple people on YouTube as well asking questions, and a couple people here on TikTok. Um, but yeah, like I said, remodeling industry is pretty easy. It's just a lot of guys come in with a lot of assumptions and make it way harder than it has to be. So when I was in college, I worked one summer. My first year in college, I came home and worked with student painters, right? And that's when you see how easy it is to make money in this business because most people don't want to do anything. So you have a lot of, especially in the area I'm in, you have a lot of homeowners that have old properties and they need, constantly needs work being done on them. And they don't have the time, the energy, the skills, the desire. So if you're willing to get out there and do some work, or at least, and here's the thing about that. I mean, that showed me at that age that you just had to be willing to go out and manage the work, right? I mean, you could always find a couple kids to help you do. Remodeling gets a little more complicated, but basic services, landscaping, painting, patios. Yeah, technically, one good carpenter, you can start doing decks. What can you recommend to get more leads? I'm from Orlando. Cool. Yeah. What's your main service, Renovation 411? What's like your niche? Tell me, what's the number one thing that you wish you had more jobs doing? Just one thing. Okay, bathroom remodels. Cool. So, one second. So hopefully you are familiar with Canva. Maybe you have an account with Canva or you know someone. So first, you got to have a business card, right? Simple. You need a website and Instagram, just one or two posts there and a Facebook page. Put those together over the weekend, all right? Then you need to get a little postcard made. something that, something talks about kitchens or baths, whatever. You can get little ones, big ones. You can make these little flyers. They look like dollar bills. Then you just start going out and introducing yourself to some people. Make some connections in your local area. So I'm assuming you have a real business, Renovation 411. Set up a local bank account in your local Boston area. Yes, Canva. So you can design all these things. You'll have a digital copy, and then you'll go somewhere. So this is like high gloss. You can go to like a Staples, whatever. You can order these online. Just get some stuff printed out. Believe it or not, in this day and age, you still need to hand people things, in my opinion, if you're going to work locally. It just adds credibility. Okay. So you need the website so that when you're not in front of the person and they want to go research you, that builds your credibility as well. But when you're talking with people one to one, you want to be able to hand them something. Just a simple postcard. Hey, we do high-end modern bathrooms, whatever. Have a nice picture of a bathroom that you've just done. On the back, offer some sort of an incentive, $500 off, whatever. Do whatever. You come up with your own marketing concept, but you just need something. This gives you legitimacy. You just start handing these out and just start networking right away in your local area. Go in, get a local bank account set up, meet the branch manager, whoever does the lending, because there are homeowners that are coming into that bank to get their refinance loans to do renovation projects. There's people coming into there taking out money so that they can do remodeling. You just don't know. So you want to get to know the branch manager. You'll want to network. You'll ask them, are they a part of any business networking groups? You'll want to start joining a couple business networking groups, little mixers, whatever they call them, and just go to your local supply houses for bathrooms, like the plumbing supply houses, the tile shop. Set up an account there with your business. Introduce yourself to those people. Exactly. Yeah, that is just standard 101 basic. Just get your foot in the door mailer, advertisement. Simple. You can't go wrong with it, Jay Allen. 100%. Especially for big ticket items. I mean, $500. And you guys know the trick, right? You're not really giving $500 off. You're just making the price $500 more. And, yeah. So, but that's what I would do, renovation. And then I would look online and see if I could get a couple leads. I would pay a service for a couple bathroom leads to get the first, to get your foot in the door. I would join a BNI group. It's called Business Networking International. And if you do that, in 6 months, you'll be swamped with work. If you just start going once a week to the BNI group. Now, let me preface it. You have to find a good group. And this is what a good group looks like. You have a very talented, successful local insurance person who offers home, auto, maybe life. Should be a talented, hungry loan officer that is in part of your group. And you want a talented, successful real estate agent. And this is what I mean. If you walk in when you're going to look at these networking groups, when you meet the people, get a sense for their personality. Some people are just very lazy. You don't want to be a part of a group where everyone's lazy. You want to get into the group where people want to do well, like they're the top. They want to be successful because they're going to have a high desire to do a lot of business, right? There are some people out there, and there's some laziness attracts laziness. So there's groups like that. They just like being social, and you'll get no business. So where I'm going with this is, just because I say join a business networking group, you have to be able to determine, is this a good business networking group? Okay. And the way you do that is you look for people that are successful and ask them. If you meet a realtor, say, hey, how many houses have you sold this year? In a nice way, you ask that question. When you meet the insurance person, hey, that's awesome. How long have you been doing it? How many clients do you guys serve? How many new clients are you going to have this year as clients? Whatever. Just basic business questions you ask to ascertain how good they are in business. So, but yeah, if you do those things in 6 months, you'll be swamped. You'll be looking for more employees. Yes. So Davis, I would definitely say that you hopefully you have, like, in my area there's multiple BNI groups. If that one's really poor, I would be, and hear me on this. If you only have one to choose from and they're awful, I would be tempted to start my own networking group. If you happen to know a good insurance agent, if you happen to know a good real estate agent, if you happen to know a successful somebody who owns a restaurant and they do, a local restaurant and they do well, I would consider, or the person who owns the local laundromat and they offer alteration services or whatever. I would grab like 5 people and try to start my own networking group where you guys meet, once a week, twice a month, once a week, and usually just meet for 1 hour. That's it. Try to do a breakfast if you can, if you're in remodeling at least. I mean, some of them do happy hours. That's up to you. Whatever your, for me, the happy hours didn't work. I had other commitments in the afternoons, but whatever works for you and your business. And then just start your own networking group. You'll be shocked at how much business you can get. But yes, it is true. You might have to start your own, because some people just get into it for the social aspect. So for me, for instance, where I was, the local networking group, I didn't join that one. I would go about 20 minutes away and I joined a different one because those people were just a different breed. They just wanted success. They were just a different type of personality. So, and they wanted a remodeler to join their group for over a year and they just couldn't get anyone to stay because most remodelers can't handle the business. You're going to, this is the truth of these good networking groups. Most remodelers cannot handle the business that they get. And because here's what happens. Most remodelers are self-employed, have one or two guys, and the minute they get 2 or 3 jobs, they're swamped. Like they're like, now all of a sudden they can't do anything for 6 months because they don't have real crews working for them. So all of a sudden the guy joins a good networking group, gets like 3 or 4 jobs, sells them, starts doing them, and now can't take on any more projects for half a year. Whereas I already had several crews, so we could handle that business. And it was one of the best things we ever did. So yeah, I would, I look, Davis, I don't obviously I don't know your personality style, if that's your thing or not. And here's the thing, you don't even have to be the guy that runs it. You just might suggest, if you know 3 or 4 other people that are talented and good, you should say, hey guys, we should start our own networking group. Maybe we just charge whatever, you do whatever you want. Make it $100 a year to start, 1,000 a year, whatever you want. And you might not even be the one that runs it yourself. Maybe one of the other people on the team, maybe the realtor or the insurance agent wants to be in charge of the group. To me, I don't care who's running the group as long as you just want someone competent doing it and someone who's going to, and remember, you only have one of each trade in there. But as far as, if you have a good insurance agent, if you have a good mortgage broker, if you have a good so insurance, mortgage, real estate, and someone that owns at least like a dry cleaner or a restaurant or two. Like we had somebody that did t-shirts. They were a merchandiser, right? They did hats and t-shirts, logo, all that kind of stuff. The whole group was crushing it. I would order my t-shirts and my hats from them. When they needed their shop renovated, they called us, right? We would get our insurance through this person. It was a really good group of people. And for a couple years, it worked awesome. Yes. So the plumber, you could do really well in there, Jay Allen. If you want to get into a group, you'd be swamped. If you joined a good networking group, you would literally be swamped. The difficult thing for a lot of remodelers or contractors is you have to have guys doing the work so that you can take the time typically to leave the job and go and do the networking. Well, he's an ass, can't help you on that one, Davis. I mean, some people are jerks like that, right? I mean, whatever. He'll be a good story for you to tell other homeowners, you know, about how. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously some people just have shitty personality and shitty business, right? Some people run around scared and it's all me, 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 They're not looking for the big picture. So, yeah, I was part of NARI for a long time, home builders and NARI in our area. So, I mean, those all those things can help build credibility, right? Because they have meetings you'll go to. Trying to, yeah. So, like, I would take like project management courses from the National Association of the Home Builders, business management classes. I would take their courses, National Association. So, all those organizations can help, and it just can help you build credibility. Um, yeah, NARI certificate of membership. I would, and you show this to the homeowner. You let them know that whatever, if you're a home builder, a remodeler, you should join. If you're a plumber, I don't know if there's a National Association of Plumbers. You should be a part of one organization that's for your industry, whatever it is. And I would show homeowners that certificate, let them know that you're a member. That just helps build credibility. Y- I can't speak for what it's like in your area. A lot of these, so obviously you realize in our industry, a lot of things are regional. Um, I would for the people. Yes, for the exactly, yeah. And so Davis, what I would say is, people come in all shades, shapes, colors, the thing, and personalities. And yeah, it sounds like this one guy is kind of a jerk and he happens to be in your industry and does what you do and you know him. But I wouldn't let that shade, because if that's your opinion of him, you're probably not alone and other people probably have the same opinion, and you could be a part of the home builders association in your area and probably have a really good experience. I don't know, you'd have to go. Usually these places will have a meeting that you can go and get to know some people. And I he told me that, yeah, whatever, yeah. I would just probably shake that guy off as bad news all the way around, you know whatever. But I wouldn't let that stop me from being part of the organization. You know what I'm saying? Just because what I'm saying is, like, let's say he goes out and buys a Ford F-350. It's not like you're going to be like, well, I can't buy one because he has one. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if he's part of an organization, it might suck that you have to put up with hearing him sometimes if he really rubs you the wrong way and he's annoying. But I wouldn't let it stop me potentially from joining the organization. I just wouldn't give him the credit. If some of these organizations have referral systems and they want to know who referred you, I just wouldn't offer the you don't have to say anything about his company. Don't give him the referrals. Yeah, exactly. I hear you. Yeah, there's asses in all the time, 100%. So, but you know, w- I would consider being part of something at the end of the day. I still so right now my local bank, the amount of networking that I'm able to do with my local bank is crazy. You'd be if you guys don't do that, like you're really missing out. Whoever the there y- there should be like a branch manager or a new accounts manager, whoever it is at your bank. And even if you've already have your business account set up and you've never met with them, just go into your local bank one day and ask the teller that you know or whatever and just say, "Hey, who's in charge here of like talking to the community about business and meets with all the other local business owners?" And you should have a meeting with them. Take a day where you go up and meet with them, share a little bit about your business, take one of your postcards, your flyers, hand it to them, and let ask him who else he could recommend you network with, and he's probably going to let you know about other events. So like in my area, there's all these other businesses that are constantly putting on events. Most of them are around happy hours. They're mostly around dinner time, and I'm not saying that's your thing. I'm just saying if you want to get out and meet people in the business world, usually a banker is a really good place to start, because that's their business is meeting the other businesses and trying to get their business right. They want all the local businesses to have bank accounts at their bank. So it's a competitive industry and you get to leverage hopefully their success. What part of the country, Davis, are you in? Okay, Mississippi. So you should have a good local, maybe even a regional or statewide bank. What I'm saying, you just don't want to be with like, if it were me, if you're with like Bank of America, I would drop it. I would go ahead. You can keep that account, but I would go set up a local business banking relationship with one of the local banks. Hopefully, they have a couple locations in your area. I don't know if you're in a popular area, how big of, but you want to be with more of like a local regional bank. So you'd be shocked. Like a lot of times, man, the difference between having like three more jobs on the books and no jobs on the books are these little things. you know, the next thing you know, you're talking with the branch manager, and the remodeler that they used to use went out of business, retired. They've been looking for a new guy, or maybe they don't like the guy that they're working with now. Some of them like to have two or three guys to refer to. Right? Most of the time when you get in these professional spaces, people like to have more than one option. So they almost always have somebody already in their Rolodex, but a lot of times they don't have two or three. So, and you may not come in as the number one guy, but over time, if you deliver and do a good job and take care of the person that is referring you the business, and maybe you and that person become good friends, you'd be shocked how much business is out there, business that you never even knew existed. So, but yeah, it always sounds simple, and sometimes it really is that stupid simple. It's just hard to be consistent. That's the problem, right? Like like if I go meet with my bank, I'll give you an example. The branch that I set up with locally, it took me like 2 months just to get a meeting with the main guy there. Right? I mean, over 2 months, I couldn't get an appointment with the head guy for all to do the networking. So while it sounds simple, you're like, "Wow, I was just trying to have a meet," but I wanted to have a lunch meeting with him, right? Because I wanted to have personalized. I wanted to get to know him, understand his business, understand who all he knows in the local marketplace, and I wanted to have make sure I had good time to explain the people that I'm looking to find and how we offer and the things we do. But so it's simple to reach out to that person, but then you have to follow through. But Yeah. Just something to I would highly recommend it. You don't have to close your Chase account, okay? But I would highly recommend you set up an account with a local bank. Yeah. Yeah, I would just work with a good local branch. And if the Chase guy is really good, tell him you need to be network. Tell him he needs to help you out with some networking. Get you in touch with some other local, if he's in charge of their local businesses for that area, then tell him, hey, you need to get me in touch with some other business owners. You got to help me drum up some business. Hmm. But also look for the Chamber of Commerce. If the BNI in your area sucks, look into your local Chamber of Commerce. You should have some sort of a local business association that you could get into. Um, so the other thing about all this is you want to be, or like in general, you will run a business. You want to be around people that have money, right? Because so typically real estate agents, insurance people, they all know people that are buying houses, right? Selling houses. So people have some money, and these are all good people to network. Yeah, Jayon, you're welcome as always. You already know most of this stuff, Jayon. You could probably share your thoughts with us as well. But yeah, when I yeah, so it was interesting when I started networking more with the local businesses. I'll give you an example. There's a guy, he owns it's like a Szechuan house, okay? Um, and he's very successful. And here's what he does. So the way that a lot of these restaurant owners work, they end up buying houses for their kitchen and wait staff, and they rent them out to them at like a discount so that they can afford all. This is in my area. I can't speak for everywhere in the country. So this guy, he owns the a very popular restaurant in my area, and I meet him one day, him and his wife, and I start talking about some remodeling projects because they own a bunch of property in the area that they bought it, and what they do is they use that as a tax write-off for the business, and then they let a lot of their staff, like their kitchen help, their wait staff, they can rent that to them at a discounted rate so that their workers can live in the area, and those houses all need work done every now and then. And they don't want like super cheap, shoddy work. They want it to be nice. And then you end up working for the homeowner, these restaurant owners, you might work for them at their own personal residences. You might end up doing work for them at their restaurants. They might be looking to expand, get into a new restaurant. A lot of them end up doing partnerships. A lot of these guys get into more than one thing. Not sure what you do. Yeah, so Davis, I mean, that's how I got started in the whole contracting world. I bought my first investment property. So, I mean, it's yeah, the same game. You're just with social media, a lot's changed. But yeah, we could get you in touch with some people if you want to. It's funny you bring this up because I'll be cautious how I say this because I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but I didn't want to initially run a remodeling business. I wanted to invest in real estate. And when I was buying property and needing to fix it up, it was such a pain in the ass hiring people to do the work that I was like, this is ridiculous. I'll never be successful in real estate if I can't get these projects completed on time, well, with a good budget, right? I need to start my own remodeling company because what I noticed immediately was every time we were renovating a house, most of the neighbors would want to have something similar done to their house. So that's immediate. Like, how simple is this? Like, this game is so easy when you look at the whole picture. So let's say you flip 3 houses a year, right? Because you can do in a couple, 6 weeks, 3 months, you can flip a house. So you set up, you put your yard sign there, and now that neighborhood knows that you're the guy who's responsible for flipping the house. Now you set up two companies. One company buys the property. So you don't let people know that you own the property. You have a second company that's doing the work. You let all the neighbors know that you're the contractor doing the rehab, right? Because if everyone knows that you're the owner of the property, then you just get into problems, lawsuits, everyone's pissed, thinks you're not that guy. That business is kept quiet. You're the guy that is just doing the renovation work. And now all of a sudden everybody loves you because they want their house remodeled. Okay. So this game becomes so easy. And you already have all the skills and the talents. So you shouldn't be flipping houses. You can flip another house for somebody else every now and then. You can partner with a lot of investors, but so many contractors are trying to work as rehabbers, but they're working for the investor, but in the wrong way. They're not partnering with the investor. They're just working for the investor. And I'm like, you have all the skill, you have all the talent, you're doing all the work, and the owner of the property is beating you up so much and taking and not giving you any profit. Stop working for the investors. Either partner with them where you split part of the profit, or go find an investor who will help you invest in the projects. So, and you manage them and get them done. So, but yeah, we could have, I mean, if you have questions like that all day long, I mean, that business is amazing. And it's always a good, no matter what the economy is, there's always a good time to be in the rehab business because you're finding properties all different ways. There's bird dogging, there's wholesaling. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so rental properties are amazing as well. Yep. And the good thing about if you get into doing a few rehabs yourself, you can look at the business two different ways. The most efficient way to be in the rehab business is to get in, get out. And if you run a remodeling business and you're ever concerned about, you want to hire crews and you're not certain that you can always have the projects, a couple investment properties can often offset. So you might be a little slower on the investment project getting it turned around, but if you have some rental properties, you always have some extra work for your crews that they can go. Maybe they're putting a new roof on the project or painting the apartment for the turnover, right? Because you're just naturally supplying your company with extra work when it's needed. In case something gets slow one week, homeowner cancels a project, whatever. Materials get delayed. I mean, things happen. So it can be a way to help balance the machine out. Ultimately, down the road, each business is going to run as its own entity. But when you're growing it and getting it started, it can be a good balance to have your hand kind of in a little bit of both. Yeah, it's a good way to stay steady. Um, so, because for me, what's happened over the years is every now and then we'll get into like a major renovation project. And look, it might take me a month longer than I planned. So I end up having a little bit more expense on a holding cost. But I also was able to keep guys working all the time and keep the company, because sometimes you said Mississippi, so your weather's not as bad there. But here, I'm on the East Coast. Like we sometimes just the winter can crush you, right? So sometimes we need, if I didn't sell the jobs properly, I need to make sure I have a lot of indoor work always lined up every winter, because trying to build additions in here in the wintertime, sometimes you can just get a cold streak where you're not doing that work for a week or two. Um, but but yeah, definitely Davis, you'll have no trouble finding wholesalers. You should just look on. So I'm a part of a bunch of different real estate investing groups, and most of them have a Facebook page nowadays. You can just join a local Facebook group, and there's wholesalers on there right now. There's all kinds of off market deals, right? Project properties that are not on the MLS, let's say. You're asking. You're asking private money versus hard money? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So, I, I the guy that I had the best relationship with, he was. I mean, he was both. It was his money. He was a hard money, private, but he was a private money lender. So I don't know when you're asking what's best. It's you have to look at the individual you're getting the money from. You want to work with. I'm a relationship person. Not everybody's like that. So I found a guy that he invented like barcoding for the military, and he was a little bit older than me, and he made millions of dollars and retired at a very young age. And then he turned around and took those millions and he would invest them in local real estate projects across the state. So um, that's just his business. And I was referred to him by somebody else because he was the kind of guy who would take risks on younger people that didn't have a ton of experience. That's the way he ran his business. Whereas I probably could have gotten a slightly better rate from someone else, but when I was first starting out, I didn't have all the things that those companies were looking for. So anyway, over the years, right now I have the experience, I have the track record. Technically, I could have probably went and worked with other people, and I had sometimes, but for the most part, I stayed with the same guy because you form a relationship with him and they're easy to work with, right? His name was Bob. I call, hey Bob, this is what I'm looking at, right? And then so I would tell you, you want to just find somebody to have a good relationship with. I wouldn't be so concerned about the rates up front because at the end of it, if you're talking like a rehab where you're getting in, getting out, their rate, whatever. Uh, In a perfect world, you're going to be in and out in 3 months. Worst case scenario, maybe six. So whatever their interest rate is, it shouldn't be killing you because you're only going to make a few payments anyway. And for me, the advantage was having the money and being able to do the deal as opposed to not. So I wouldn't sweat the rate 100%. I would just find someone who's going to be good to work with, right? That's going to come out the day you need them to do the walkthrough, and evaluate, and then hand you and write you a check, and the check's going to be good, so that you can go pay everybody and get started on the next draw, right? Because I would typically do five draws. So, but yeah, so again, I would network and look to meet with somebody local, and you're never going to know 100% unless a friend of yours is in the business and can vouch for him. The first deal I did with the gentleman, we had to learn as we went through, but as soon as we did the first one, that led to like, I mean, literally the house the first one that I did that way, we literally found out we could buy the house behind it. So we did that. Then we bought the house three streets up and we did that. So I mean, it just starts snowballing. Yeah, both are local to me and well known. Yeah, I mean, you might not be making a bad decision either way. I think there's some particulars that are going to come out when you go to do the actual deal. One might say, I don't like to do this range. I don't like to do that. I don't know. Some companies just have their own individual things, the way they evaluate. Um, but it's all over the place. You have a lot of people that really want to be in that business because it's like a vanity thing, right? Like they get to tell people they're a hard money lender or private money or whatever. So whatever. You just want to make sure they're easy to work with. Um, Now, my guy wouldn't give me 100% financing. I had to always put skin in the game, but a lot of the companies now will do 100%. They just take more from the profit. But, so I mean, there's always pluses and minuses. There's advantages. You just want to work with somebody that actually has the money and can deliver on the deal. So, yeah, I mean, numbers are interesting in real estate. I've often thought that people wanted too much. And then oftentimes I realized that real estate just keeps, for the most part, if you're in a good market. Okay, now again, this is regional. You have to look at your market. If there's two kinds, you're either in a market where property's going up, or sometimes you're in those markets where it's not. The house is the same price today as it was 30 years ago, right? So I mean, you have to be able to assess your market well and understand the difference. I've been fortunate. A lot of my houses, I always know that if I pay a good price from the day I buy it, I've made money. Because I've even turned around. I remember I bought one house, and then a buddy asked me to be his best man in the wedding, and like two other projects came up. So I literally decided to not even do that project. I turned around and I flipped it to somebody else just because the timing didn't work out. So that kind of, if you buy the property well from day one, it gives you incredible flexibility, right? So I've bought from wholesalers. I have in turn I've wholesaled. I've bought I've bought houses with the sole intention of not even wanting to do the rehab. It's just because I was working on a house in the neighborhood, and I went around and introduced myself to the neighbors in that neighborhood. And said to them, "Hey, if you're ever interested in selling, please let me know. We're looking to buy more houses." You'll come across them sometimes. And sometimes you'll find one, you're like, I don't know if I feel like rehabbing that one for this reason or that. So then you turn around and you be the wholesaler. If you're already out doing the business, it's very easy to just make a couple $1,000s like that and just turn it over to somebody else. Sometimes the wholesaler is making more money than the rehabber. Just depends. All right. America. Yeah, I mean, we live in a pretty amazing. I'm Jayon, I don't know if you were on the other night when I was talking about this, but I was watching a quick podcast, and they were talking about the wealth of people across the world. And maybe you guys already know this. I didn't know it, but being in America, we have our own definition of what we think wealthy is, right? Like, do you make $100,000 a year? Are you a millionaire? Um, but if you make $40,000 a year, that's it, just 40,000. I mean, when you compare yourself to the rest of the world, in fact, it's the rest of the world is so not wealthy that if you just have $4,000 in your bank account, you are part of the wealthiest people in the world. Not in America, obviously, but in the world. So sometimes you have to have like a little bit of perspective. I mean, I've shared before. I'm very fortunate. I have my own office I work out of, right? I mean, I was able to build it myself. I get to work out of it. It's raining outside right now. It's dry in here. I've got electricity, I have heat. Um, I don't have to look for a roof over my head every night. I have food, water. I have a vehicle. I can drive. I can buy a plane ticket and fly somewhere. I mean, pretty pretty amazing lifestyle that I get to live compared to the rest of the world. Now, if I just try to look around Instagram or TikTok, then I can start feeling like, oh, I'm not that wealthy. But when you compare yourself to the rest of the world, I'm pretty thankful and it's pretty amazing. Yeah, still working on it. Sure, you know, but But being, it's a gift to be able to run your own business because you get to dictate once you learn how the game's played and you get the basics set up. The more time and energy you're willing to put into it, the more that you can have benefit out of it. That's what's amazing to me about business is you can it will be what you want it to be if you're willing to put the resources into it, whether that's your time, your money, you know. But if you're willing to invest in your business, it will grow. It will become what you want it to be. If you're happy with it just taking care of you a little bit because you only want to put in a little bit, it can do that as well. And you can't always say that about when you have a job working for somebody else. But if you have your own business, you kind of get to chart your course, as they say. So, but don't get me wrong, it's still that's what's nice about having stuff like social media like this. Like, God, I mean, I was so lost when I first started in business. I mean, it was very, if I was lucky, I could maybe get out to a networking group here and there. But I mean, there was no, I'm dating myself, but there was no social media. It was very hard to get insight and to see how well other people were doing and to learn the tips, the tricks, right? I mean, nowadays, if I want to learn something new that I want to implement in my business, I just need to stay up for a few extra hours and I can find most of the information to at least get started, or I can find someone that I can hire to either do it for me or they'll teach me. It's absolutely amazing. I work more now out of enjoyment of it than I probably did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was more out of just trying to survive. Now it's out of saying, "Well, what is possible? How much can I get done? What what uh what can we achieve this year?" That's the difference now. Whereas before it was just trying to I wasn't even sure I was going to make it through the month or the year sometimes, you know. Anyway, those are my thoughts on business. I think we live in an amazing time right now. It's fascinating. There's probably never been a better time. And the part of the problem is most of your competition, they have access to all this, but you just have to know, like you have to hear this. Most of your competition is lazy and they just won't do the work. They'll do the bare minimum to succeed at their basic level. So like if you really want to crush and have an amazing business, the opportunity is 100% there. Because you just have to know that there's very few people that are going to be willing to put the time, energy, and effort into it. Because most people just get distracted. It's too easy to be comfortable once you start making a little bit of money, you know? So, all right. Any other, probably going to bounce here in a minute unless you guys have any other questions. Definitely appreciate Jay Allen, as always. Thank you. I appreciate your commenting and participating. And a couple of the new guys, Davis Huff, I appreciate. Renovation 411, you're still here. What you got any questions? So, but yeah. Hopefully you walk away from a meeting like something like this and you're fired up. You're like, God damn, we're gonna go out and crush it tomorrow. Yep. Thanks, Davis. Nice meeting you. And we'll see you around. Very good, Ramesh. Yeah. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully you walk away encouraged, and you realize like, damn, this thing, while it may seem hard right now today, whatever struggle you're trying, but at the end of the day, recognize that you can, in this business, you can crush it. Yep. Thanks, Renovation. You have you have a good night as well. All right, fellas. Uh, have a good one. Thanks for being here, and look forward to seeing you back on the next one. Take care.